Save Our Kids is an opportunity for you to be introduced to a few school and student helpers. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you. Okay, what you don't realize is that I had to close the door real quick and then run over here to get to get on the camera. It's very interesting. So, hello, everybody. It's nice to see all these faces. Yes. All the beautiful faces looking back at me. All right, let's see. Want to make sure we're in here. Is it working?
There we go.
Now I can log. Yay! All right, James, welcome to the party. Gentlemen.
What's up, everybody?
Morning.
It is so awesome to have a new group of people every time we come. So it's always good. So thank you very much for spending your time with us and deciding to join me for Save Our Kids. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to do a round robin and just let everybody have an opportunity to explain who they are, what they do, and what community they support. So we'll start with you, Dr. Kendrick.
All right. My name is Kendrick Thomas, founder and CEO of KTTV Media and Consulting. I do a podcast media that goes out that supports educators called Education Unleashed. I also do trainings for teachers that need to help in identifying emotionally disturbed students and setting up classrooms for high need students as such. And lastly, I'm an assistant principal in Alief ISD, high school alternative school. Fun times.
Fun times. I love the fact that you're here, and I love the fact that you have Education Unleashed and KTV, right?
Yes, KTTV.
KTTV. The reason why is because you actually talk the language that I actually talk about here all the time, which is bridging the gap between community and home and schools and community. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited. And if you don't know, you might want to go ahead and connect with him. Use that QR code. So we're going to go to Mr. Barry. Go ahead, share with everybody who you are and what you do.
Sure. Barry Donovan. I am the founder of Visible Digital Solutions. We are I don't want to say a digital agency because we're very specific in what we do. We started out doing digital business cards in 2014, custom designed digital cards. And then about 2.5 years ago, we jumped over to a product that serves victims of crime. And we work with the law enforcement agencies and DA's offices to provide digital, what we call EVAT cards. In law enforcement, if you're a victim of a crime, you have to receive your rights. And typically that's done with a printed brochure. We've taken that, we've created a browser-based application now and taken all the different resources that the law enforcement agencies have that are usually scattered about, maybe in a printed brochure, maybe on a website. You'd be surprised how many law enforcement agencies do not have a victim services page on their website. So we've gathered all that information, we've put it in an easy to access format. So now victims have an app on their phone that they can access 24/7 and get the help they need or find the resources they need in their community quickly. And we also do peer support care cards for public safety organizations. Very similar technology, similar idea, right? Resources when they need them immediately right on their phone.
Cool. So as you're starting to everybody listening to what everyone else is doing, you'll understand why all four of you are in the same room. All right, you're up, James. Welcome back.
Hey, what's going on, Tabitha? As always, it's a pleasure. Nice to meet both of you as well. And Tabitha's right. I would personally love to connect with you guys. What you see on my hat right here is actually a nonprofit that I run to combat isolation among veterans, first responders, families, all mental health related. My whole passion, though, that leads into my passion for impact and why I launched out the product Impact. is it's actually multifaceted. But I really wanted to help out with the information sharing game in law enforcement. Barry, I'm sure you understand that. And what that led me was on this journey to really understand even fully where I came from. And something that was always in the back of my mind was reporting and helping to bridge a gap between, not only the kids who are in school, but also even at hospitals. Because my mom was a victim of lateral violence, which is bullying and assault inside of her hospital. And I learned that hospitals are it's a prominent ground for bullying and harassment and things like that. And 73% of all workplace violence. However, very similarly, schools have something going on with that too, where you need to bridge a gap between the students and the educators who can help and support them. And we built up a very easy to use application where that can happen, where you can submit a report in 10 seconds or less. And it gets directly to the right people at the right time on site. So that means we're empowering, primary and secondary education protectors, if you will. And it's usually the threat assessment teams is what they're normally called, but that could be your safety teams. And that's what we're bridging.
I love it. I love that. And I do owe you a conversation because something that I'm working on now, I don't know if you know that, but right now you're coming with me. You don't know that yet, but you know today that you are actually part of my plan to bring you with me, because I think that I know that what you have is going to be very helpful for a very large group of people that will help you overall. So yes, I'm excited you're here. Yay.
Tabitha and I are like spirit animals, man. Like we're spirit humans, very similar in the way that we think and the way we act. So I really appreciate hearing that. I'm excited.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to tell you. This is going to be so much fun.
Let's go.
So for me, so again, my name is Tabitha Barron. I am the founder of Keeping Your Kids Safe. I created a platform that allows each child to effectively communicate their way home, because unfortunately our family was impacted by someone not listening to my 5-year-old niece and placing her in a compromising position, which is on the wrong bus to be picked up by a stranger on the opposite side of where that bus driver let her off at. My thing is that a lot of the reason why I do this is because at the end of the day, if we can bridge the gap between home and school and community, we can stop a lot of these kidnappings and all the nefarious behaviors that's surrounding these students. You can actually end. And these are things that we can solve. So that being said, let's give the reason why we're here, because we can't solve a problem unless we at least acknowledge that the problem exists. So, hi, Catherine. Hi, Troy. Hi, Sia. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for spending your time with us. I also would like to say thank you to the teachers, because, at the end of the day, you are parent number 2. So let me explain. Parent number 1 is home. We have to learn how to co-parent. Parent number 2 is school. They spend, how many hours do I tell you? The children spend 1,260 hours per year on a 180 school day year with other people. That's parent number 2. You have to learn to co-parent. Your bonus parent is the community. So you have to build, it is very, very, very important to a child to build a community of supporters. And that means that you know that you are primary, school is secondary, and the bonus parent being the community will help you drive home the value systems that you want your student to have, your child to have. So because we need to solve for X, we need to understand what that is, right? 4 million teachers across the United States, 90,000 schools, 55% of them as of 2023 want to quit. That's a problem that can be solved, right? It's not the problem. The problem is not the teacher. The problem is the metrics. What you guys are being measured against is what is compromising your ability to teach and train those students in the skill set necessary for the rest of their lives. 42 million children go to sleep hungry every day. This is a problem because school, parent number 2, is the one that primarily feeds a lot of the homeless children or a lot of the children anyway. And so if your child does not go to school, they potentially cannot get food and fed. For a country that wastes 120 billion pounds of food a year, this is a problem that can be solved. So this is one of the reasons why we're here. Okay. 1.2 million children per year are sold into some form of slavery. That is very important for at least two of you on this panel, because James will help them get out of that situation, and Barry will help them find the support and resources in order for them to be safe and content. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. For me, there's at least 2 incidents every single day on a manual process of children being misplaced when it's time to go home from school. Everyone's excited to leave. No, sometimes the excitement gets in the way of pure common sense or being able to successfully reach their destination. That happens more often than anybody's able to admit and realize. So that is why we're here. So again, we have 180 school days, 1,260 hours are spent with school. Parents, you are actually out of the home and away from your children for 2,600 hours a year. So that is something significant, I think, that a lot of people do not realize. Okay, so I'm gonna read this. Research shows that having a Black teacher in particular does a lot of good for students, especially minority students, because Black students who have one Black teacher by 3rd grade are 7% more likely to graduate high school and 13% more likely to enroll into college. But that's not the end of that. Black teachers actually improve the absenteeism that is currently plaguing the schools. So Black teachers have a ability to pull into position or help them want to come to school. That motivation is there. The biases that exist are harming the students. And just keep in mind, Black teachers, representation matters, but it matters for more than just one group of people. It matters to all of us. Those teachers actually have a significant impact on everyday living. Other things we want to report is 44% report that they are depressed, 37% report anxiety, and 40 to 60% have test anxiety. I'm one of those people. I actually fall in the test anxiety situation.
Same.
And you too, yeah. 90% of the students are sleep deprived, and we have a large number of them is 1.5 years behind. The last thing I will say is there's 53 million children to go to school every single year. But by the year 2031, that is projected to be 46.9 million. That is a definite fall of where that's where we're on our way to. So is it the fact that we found another way to teach them? We're sending them elsewhere. What are we doing? Because that number is significant. And that means universal pre-K is one of those items that is coming on board for to bring in more children earlier on, which takes away parent one, your value system. So your value systems will be pulled out and injected with what the school provides. And you have to be mindful of that. So I don't agree with putting your kids in school prior to 5 years of age, but I'm just one person. So with all of that being said, the one very first question I would like to ask is, let me explain one thing. James has a product that will actually help these kids. When you see bullying, anonymously report. When you see somebody being stomped in a hallway, anonymously report. When you see a teacher being abused by another teacher, anonymously report. In a way that helps everyone to keep their space safe, but be able to report behaviors that make others uncomfortable. Because right now we're faced with a lot of people saying, I can't get involved because 1, I can't lose my job. 2, I don't know where to go and it be safe. Things like that. Okay. Barry's on the opposite side of things for me. So what happens is that for any type of assault, any type of issue, and I'm going to bring it back to Uvalde. When Uvalde happened, all the parents rushed the school. Why did they rush the school? Because they were not given clear understanding to say whether their child was in that classroom or safe in that school. And so panic kicked in. But when panic kicks in, now maybe some of those parents were part of the group where those children were harmed or were murdered, right? But now you have the police officer talking at you, because at this point you can't hear. You can't hear anything. You don't know what's going on, and you don't know what direction to go in. So Barry's product actually provides a way for people to communicate after they realize their circumstances and are able to come back and say, I need resources and I need to have a conversation with you about what is currently going on. And then for Dr. Thomas, he is very instrumental because he understands the bridge that is necessary, that was burned down years ago, that brought in the community into the classroom, into the school, that allowed us to successfully work this out together. That is why all three of you being here is really important to me. So if any of you can come off of mute and share your ideas and understanding about, it means clearly anything, but what you're here today about. Whew. I'm glad to see you, Phil. I was looking for you, sir. Go ahead. Anybody? I'll throw a question out there. What is one challenge that you see right now in the schools that can be solved with what you offer?
All right, I'll take it then. All right. Okay, so for me, as an educator, right, and this is the workbook, but I wrote this book, and it's called A Pencil is the Least of My Worries. And so what this book does is I've been in schools where there are high populations of other than African-American staff, high population of African-American students, correct? And so what that looks like was a lot of times it was sympathy versus empathy when you're understanding the plight of the numbers you just gave. So what I did in the book was I wanted to be able to create a tool for teachers to understand the implicit biases, right? To understand the stereotypes, to understand discipline disparities, even culturally, right? What does that relationship look like when I don't know some of the things that happen in your culture? So when you answer the phone and all this is going on, like I'm almost stunned and I want to hang up, right? But then now that conversation of the bridge that was needed to help that student has just diminished. So then how do we create book studies with workbooks like these, right? That give reflection questions, but that also gives what it looks like inside of the education system and then strategies to fix what it looks like inside of that. So that is one way of what I'm offering, helps inside of schools, but then also doing mentor programs. So I've been on the news a few times on ABC 13 to be able to come in and help set up mentor programs for young boys. We have two ways. So one is like a character strong program, but the next one is a program we call Artists and Scholars. And so what that does is bring in community members, right? Plumbers, we even go college too, because everybody's not going to college. Everybody won't get a trade, but we serve to both. My elementary school was the only school that was allowed to go to our CTE center, right? But that was just because of me pushing and that mission to be able to get these kids to see something in elementary to be able to spark before they get there. So that's the work that we're doing.
And I like that. I like the fact that you have options and the fact that you're on the news for other than, the horrible stuff. You're actually saying that there's something that can be done to move us out of where we are today. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I feel like I would like to jump in from that because, when you take in the training aspect and how important all of that is genuinely, you have to think about the tools that you're providing to them. That's something that I'm personally Catherine, what's up? I said hi to Catherine. She's from Philly. I'm also in the Philly area. We're going to connect. But I think about the tools immediately. Tabitha, you and I have spoken about this. It's almost like, giving a construction worker no nail or hammer to hit the nail in, right? I mean, like you have to give them the tools to be able to execute the job and to be able to really help them out. And that's kind of where we came in. We built something really simple and easy. Now we have a vision for the future of where we're going with our product that includes a lot of really good data that can provide basically the climate of a school and an institution to prevent actual events from happening. Prevention. A lot of people talk about prevention. That's been my hyper obsession. And, because I know that prevention is the best way forward. You know what? The Secret Service, law enforcement, other educators, they all agree with that because it just makes sense. We need to come up with tools and processes or support the processes that are in place with tools that can help them prevent things from happening and give them the data insights to do such, like collecting things from social media and giving an easy to understand feed of information coming through, as well as partnering up with the students and showing them that they can do something about their own safety. And in fact, what I've learned even in the past year was that safety is even bigger than just a kid reporting bullying or a potential weapon on campus or something like that. It's actually even deeper than that. What about the small instances of kids that slip and fall, inside of a classroom because something's dirty and hasn't been cleaned up yet? We're talking about full reporting throughout the school that can be implemented in a month or less and just stays there. We're building it directly into the infrastructure for a low price. And in the software itself, the upkeep of it is also a low price. We're here to actually help out the schools and planning to make money in other arenas and areas. And that's really what our mission is, just to help. And that's something that I plan on building a team around that aspect. So I hope that makes sense what I just said, and I really think, let me see, all tools cover various groups. All info can be found at visibledigitalsolutions.com. Oh, that's Barry. I was gonna say what? That's Barry though. Let's go. Let's go, man. Yeah. So big time. That's what we're really all about. So that's it.
Yeah, I think that so you bring up a very good point, because a lot of it is prevention, right? We have to get to the place where we don't need Barry's digital card, because that means that we did not take heed to the numbers that I'm called out. It's all over the internet. It's not like I'm pulling these things out of magical air. Something is going on and something is happening. Now, the teachers are telling you that something's happening. So if they're struggling and saying, a lot of them are on anti-anxiety medicine, depression medicine, things like that, there's something going on that we can solve for. And this is a good way to do that. And coming from a toxic corporate experience, multiples, right? I can see how if I would have had a tool like yours, how maybe I would not have been in that situation. Because when I went public with it, I was literally crucified for it. I became the pariah there. And everybody was like, oh, you shouldn't have said anything. But here's the thing, is that they were abusing a pregnant woman prior to me, right? And they were attacking sexual advances, harassment, all this other stuff. And because they were able to do that and not be called to the carpet on it, and there was no HR wasn't safe in this company. It wasn't. Every time we would go to HR, they would go and talk to the manager, and then next thing you know, we're getting consequences, retaliation, for that reason. But Barry, so for a situation like Uvalde, how would your solution would have helped those families in that school to not encounter some of the things that had happened over there with them?
It really depends on the agencies that are serving those parents. If the agency had one of our EVAC cards, then the law enforcement would have gotten that information into their hands immediately. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you mentioned people are in shock when they're a victim of a crime. They're not thinking, they're blank. And then the law enforcement hands them this information and off they go. And where'd I put that information? What even was that information? Do I need that information? They're not there at the time. So should the law enforcement agency have the card with the listing of resources in their community where they can get help, then it's a simple solution for them. They just open it up and look for suicide prevention, whatever those items are that they're feeling or need resources they need, they're there immediately. So I want to just share one other thing while it's top of mind. We don't really directly work with schools, but we partner with a bunch of different agencies that I like to share information with my clients that I think would be helpful when you're dealing with a victim of crime or a family or those types of things. One of the organizations that we've partnered with is called National DEC. It's the National Organization for Drug Endangered Children. It's a wonderful organization, and I'll share a link to their website here when I'm done. But I recommend that if you don't know about them and you're working with children, a lot of these situations, there's drugs at home and such, and they're dealing with it with peer pressure and that sort of thing. And National DEC is a great organization that has free tools, a free app that folks can download and have that access to information and resources. So I'll share their link once I pull it up here.
That would be great. I mean, so that's really good. I think that the fact that I kind of hear where yours can be also preventative.
It can be, yes, absolutely. Again, it really depends on the organization, the agency's resources that they provide us. We have a handful that we go, hey, you don't have this, like National DEC is a good example. You don't have National DEC listed as a resource in your resource section on our card. I suggest we add that. Okay, so that's where we bring in them and a couple other organizations, or victims of loss. There's a free book out by an attorney who wrote a book about his mom being run over by a garbage truck, and this attorney serves people who are victims of that type of incident. He wrote a book. It's outstanding, and it's not a sales book. Okay, it's a really outstanding book with lots of tools in it for somebody who's facing an accident or something like that. That again, you don't know what to do. So we partner with them. We share their information. So that's how we kind of fit in with the helping out, because we serve so many different areas.
I can see. Okay, so I don't know. I think my video is lagging, but what I see is that you are. I immediately heard it, because for each of those students who returned back to a lesser grade, so the 18-year-old that went through an elementary school and decided to shoot up everybody in the elementary school, those people can actually seek help prior. And being able to get a hold of what's in your visible digital solution, being able to say, hey, I'm having these thoughts, I'm having these problems, what can I do to help solve them? Because a lot of time, a lot of people, they go and seek the help, but they're not taken seriously, or it's said, oh, just think positive thoughts, or, oh, well, just do X, Y, and Z. And so this brings me back to the child safety portion of it all. What we do today impacts our tomorrow for ourselves and our children. So when we tell a child, shut up, guess what they hear? Shut up for life, right? My example is very clear. My son is on a spectrum. Spectrum meaning autism spectrum, okay? So he is an ASD adult now. I lost his sound. There was no voice coming from this little boy. There was no sound ever. Only thing I ever heard was screaming. You hear me? Screaming. It was horrible. Not a good experience. But when I finally got his voice back, one of the things I did was I did not tell him to shut up. First of all, I don't think that that's appropriate to say to any one person, period. So shut up was immediately removed from my vocabulary from the day I had a child. When I first had a child, I was like, these are key words that will not be used. And shut up, and that phrase, shut up, was one of them. So my kids never heard that. But I never told him to be quiet. I never told him to shut up. And I never silenced his voice anymore. And the reason why is because I spent a year in deafening silence. And that is something that's powerful. And so what I have learned is my niece, 10 years after her incident, doesn't advocate for herself, because someone told her to shut up and just follow my instructions. So what we do today does impact our children tomorrow and day after, and it continues to snowball. So this is all child safety. A child cannot advocate for themselves if you quiet their voice. They cannot empower them. You can't empower them to do anything different when every time they approach you to say, Johnny is having this problem, or this is happening over here, and you're like, mind your business. Worry about yourself. All these different phrases that we use, Go ahead, James. And then
I want to back you up. I want to back you up on what you're saying. With there's a study that was done. So when I was in school, and I was studying conflict and everything, because I love my obsession, conflict on a mass scale, and how is it related, like macro, how is it related to the micro? And when you look at all conflict, as big and as bad as genocide, all the way down to like even a relationship between two people, there's one thing that's synonymous between the two. When you silence a populace or you silence a person, it actually ends up leading to a physical, violent result. And genocide is the most violent you could be. And inside of a relationship, it could be just, tumultuous, or it could be domestic violence, or it could be something worse, right? Murder, etc. So, or rape, or any other terrible things that happen. The same things happen with human beings. Again, I'm going to repeat it, macro to the micro. That is massive. And if you don't give people the opportunity to have a voice, they will feel like they can't play a part in their own lives. And when they don't feel like they play a part in their own lives, they don't have their own thoughts, they don't have their own opinions, they begin to just follow whatever they're told, right? And then, or they act out and lash out and become an unproductive person in society overall. So if we are to do anything, it's to protect that exact voice that you're talking about right now, Tabitha. And I just wanted to chime in and say that there is absolute massive amounts of data that back you up on that.
Yep.
Don't silence people.
Do not silence, especially do not silence these children. I have to say, do not do that, because for me, I look at our current circumstances now, and there are days in which I say, what options do we have if we can't? So for an example, when you go to the police and you say, this is my problem, and they say, that's not a real problem that we're willing to solve, right? Or it flips, and then you become their point of target, right? But then you're like, where do I go? What options do I have? When you remove options from people and the ability to stand up for themselves and have own agency over themselves, it's hard for them to, where do they go? When there are no options, those are the most dangerous people on the planet. If there is nothing for them to lose, they are the most dangerous people you will ever meet in your life. And that includes children. And Dr. Thomas, yes, come on, because I knew you.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why we do so much to empower students at such a young age, because I want you to know early that those options are there, right? But I also want you to know early how much of control you are in when it comes to those options. Like the decisions, your life is based on those decisions. And so some of the things that we preach in those programs are how to make those decisions, so many character pieces, so that we can always teach kids, because I'm now at the high school, alternative school. And just this week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I lost one student to murder, where she was the murderer, right? And so at what point did she feel like this was my only option to take the life of someone else? In a drive-by, she was already like grazed in the head over the summertime. And so just think about the preaching that went into to talking to her when she gets back, and still seeing this, but she still goes out and kills someone. And so that's why it's so important to make sure that we're pouring into those students in elementary school, right? As soon as they dot that door, like you say, whether it's 5, 6, or 8, we're having conversations about right and wrong. But then we're being intentional about those mentor programs, about making sure we got positive cultures in our schools. But because when we don't, like you say, those kids become hopeless. I was looking at a study a few weeks ago, and it said in elementary, 55% of students are engaged. By the time they get to high school, that drops down to maybe 20 something, right? And so then what happens in between those students? And a lot of the times that's where our hopelessness come in. That's where our nothing to live for come in. And so we see our students dropping at a fast decline.
Yeah, that is true.
That's gang. You immediately make me think of gang violence and the prevalence of it. One of my mentors, he's actually like, He's the president of a gang association down in the state. I don't want to say anything other than that because I don't know if he wants me to like identify him. But he is a mentor of mine, and I've actually been taking. I've gone to different courses of his for the past couple of years, and the importance of gangs inside of schools is something. Honestly, they need to start taking it more seriously. Every school, pretty much. I would say almost every single inner city school and so a lot of southern forget the term for it, but a lot of schools even in the southern territories like Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Alabama, like I know for a fact in those areas in particular, because that's where my mentors hails from, that area, gang violence. And even up here in Jersey, right, in Jersey and Philadelphia, like we're talking about these kids are smart, by the way. I was able to talk to some of these gangbangers, and these kids are smart and they're not dumb. They know how to survive, they know how to make money, and they know how to do a lot. And people underestimate them and look at them as if they're lower. These kids know how to survive better than most people I know. So, I mean, the thing that I would love to see, this is completely aside from my product, obviously. I'm just chiming on what you're saying right now. But something I would love to see, a dream of mine, it would be taking these kids and turning them into productive entrepreneurs. Because when we talk about survival instinct, able to adapt and turn and really understand people, because even in some of the conversations that we had with these kids, we're asking them questions about their lives and what they would do in certain situations. They know how to spot a liar. Because they've also been lied to their whole lives a lot of the time in the homes that they're growing up in. So they know how to spot a liar and in a heartbeat. And if you know anything about business, it's trying to like understand who's who and who's what. These kids could add a major value to our society overall if we can help them. And that's just something, I don't know. I'm backing you up based on what you're saying too. It's so important to really help these kids out that way. And man, they're impressive in a really weird, messed up way. If you open your mind, you don't look down on these kids, they are impressive, honestly.
And
it goes back to I was just gonna say it goes back to self-fulfilling prophecy. And like the research or the experiment, it goes with the tree speaking nice or speaking negative, which one will grow. And so at a point, I believe what you say I am, whether that's a bully,
some of that Beethoven,
whether that's smart. Yes, sir. So all of that. Just wanted to piggyback off.
That is good. So my question is always the same. Why? Why are they gangbangers? Why did they choose a different life than what their parents have set out for them? Why do they feel like it is better for them to be elsewhere than it is for them to be educated?
I think there's actually been a study that's done on that too, where it's basically talking about the importance of consistency inside the household. So it's not even necessarily, they're not even necessarily even hearing anything different, right? Because it's happening in their household or in their community, and they don't know any other way. In fact, I had a kid. I'm going to give you a personal story right now. And part of one of these, it's not a course, but when I went and I sat down in a group, of with a bunch of gangs and former gangbangers talking to kids who are gangbanging right now or threatening to potentially be a part of it. There was one kid had his hood up like this, right? He was sitting in the back, and he was sitting like this, and he leans in and turns like this and goes, "Everything I hear in my life is everything gangbanging. What else do I have? Nobody cares about me." He literally said that to me and my boy Ty, and we were like, "You do have a choice. You absolutely have a choice." And the thing is, these kids don't know any other way. So it's not even that their parents, and I'm not trying to contradict, by the way, like it's just that some of the parents don't even know, right? Because they grew up in that. So it's actually breaking that help me out here, the trauma, if you will, the history of trauma inside, generational trauma, if you will. Like it's the patterns that you have to break that at some point somewhere. Somebody in that family lineage has to choose a different path to break it for the rest. And that's hard to do, by the way, just saying.
But it's not impossible. And the reason why I always ask the question of why.
It's not.
Yeah. The reason why I say that is because ultimately that's the part. As we were growing up, as I was growing up, and I'm not that old. So as I was growing up, I couldn't get down the street before my neighbor was telling my grandparents what I had done, right? Or made a phone call. That's the bonus parent. Those are the people who can see what the parents don't always see because they're working. They're concentrating on the basic needs. The school is supposed to be able to call and say, hey, we have a problem with little Johnny or Sue over here, and we need you to come to the school and help us figure out how to not lose this child. There is a lot of truth to the fact, to what he said to you, unfortunately, because I come from a high risk, low income area. Okay. How I made it out was because my mom said, just because you live here does not mean you have to be here. You do not have to be what you see. Right. And so she gave us a trajectory for us to go, to be guided by. So she was like, this is where we live because of our circumstances, but we do not have to only be this. But a lot of other parents don't see any other ways because all of their options have kind of been taken away. So then here's the one option we were all supposed to have. We were all granted the ability to be educated. So we send our children to the schools to be educated by parent number 2. And parent number 2, in my experience, is parents aren't welcome here. Your opinion doesn't count here. I don't care about your feelings here. And that, so now you have a co-parenting nightmare for the child. Because remember, the child is learning from 2 different places. They're learning from home and from school. So if the teacher shut them out and home is not available, where else is there a community? Not the community of our choosing, but the community of their choosing. So someone in the community, because the gangs are a community. We're asking for a community. They found a community where somebody will spank them or beat them when they're doing something wrong to correct their behaviors and put them in line. And they will feed them when they're hungry. They will take care of them and will back them when they're right, wrong, or indifferent. Whereas when you go to school, it's something totally different. And in some cases, some of these kids are getting roughed up so much that the teacher may not be paying attention enough to be able to step in. So it becomes a little bit of a problem. So I just think that overall, we have to be better collectively about how we manage our relationships with the adults that are governing these students that will eventually release them out into life.
Yeah. I was going to say, it boils down to no more, no less of where do I feel loved, even if I don't know what that definition is, right? Or what it looks like. I feel something when I'm with these guys or these gals. Where do I feel like I belong, right? And then most importantly, where do I feel understood? And so a lot of the times with the generational gaps, if we don't as educators, we don't as parents put in that work to understand a little bit more about these students, or these children, then we lose them, right? It's some rap songs I think I was quoting last night. I was like, I just have to know this stuff, right? Because if I don't, then it comes to one point I will lose that relatability. I lose that connection. And now I'm out the loop of information because no one wants to talk to no one they don't connect with, And so something as simple as that has kept gang fights down in my school, right? Has kept relationships, most definitely. Yes, sir. Yeah. So that's pretty much, that's it though. But where do I feel loved, relatable, understood, and belong?
I need to, all right. So let's talk about rap real quick. So
Barry's like, what is this?
Listen, I'm about to blow some minds, not yours, because you understand the importance of rap, but underground rap scene is incredibly important to know because they're talking about what's happening outside that school inside every single one of their songs. I mean, super important to know what's happening, what's being said, and what's being put out into SoundCloud, YouTube, TikTok, all these different, Instagram, all these different places. Information that you can use to help that kid is inside that song. Because I mean, and they're all doing it. It's actually something that right now, I forget the guy's name, Santiago, I think it is. But he's a detective, either current or former, that is all about that. And I sat through his class and he blew my mind with that stuff. So it's actually really cool and refreshing to see that you're listening to rap to help the kids. That's something little hint to the future of Impact. I really want to begin to gather information from the internet around that, to be able to provide to schools instantly so they can gauge the temperature of their climate in their school to see what's happening, talk about true prevention. We're doing some really radical stuff with our platform that honestly could change the trajectory of it. And if you want to chat, man, I'm down. I would love to talk to you about it.
Most definitely, man. We're doing things like reading with a rapper, right? So you think about like people like Don
That's
Toliver,
cool.
other people from A-Leaf like Toby. So all these people coming into the schools, taking their time out with the kids.
You should talk
and
to
once
Topher.
Again, okay, look, anybody you got, brother, we need him.
Yeah, I'll throw
but
you to Topher. He's cool. He's good people, man. He's an Air Force vet too.
Yeah. So that, I mean, so programs like that, like I say, it's all about, once again, finding out, okay, if I found places where I belong and I feel accepted outside, how do we recreate that on a positive intonation and get the kids in to be a part of that? I'm taking about 75 high school students on the 28th down to a male summit, right? And so we're finna bust these guys. I haven't even met any of them. But how cool are we making this summit to be important for them? Inside of my district, I do Man Up programs where we do like a tour and we go to schools and it's only the males and the mentors, and that's 4. We're doing breakout sessions. How cool are we making that, promoting that to be just about the guys, to build that camaraderie again between the young fellas and the mentors till it sounds better than going out to the street to hit some licks. I'd rather be doing this, right? But then we got to make sure that we're making it sound like that.
You actually answered my question that, and I would like to
cool.
add, please find your counterpart and a female, because what's happening is, because you're not the first person that will go and address the men, which is fine. And I think it's great because you have a lot of chronologically sound men who are boys, because they were not taught how to transition over to being a man, right? But what's happening is you're building up the man, but we're forgetting or not including the women in the process. So the girls are met with these better men, these boys who are turning into true men, and now they come with their ratchet behavior and bring it, and now there is no match for them. And I know, James, ratchet, I know. So what I'm saying is that I would just encourage you to do a female, so find your female counterpart and kind of mirror what you're doing with the men, with the boys over to the girls, so that when they get to that age where there's time to pair off, that they can pair off with someone who is their equal versus someone they got to dig down deep and then try to mold this person into the woman that they want to marry and have children with, versus just, oh my gosh, you were created for me and you understand our value systems and things like that. So I think that that's very important. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and because the question you answered was, what do we need to do? One of the things that's happening is that the teachers are depressed, tons of anxiety, lots of things going on, and they're teaching from those goggles, right? So as they're teaching from those goggles, then all of their frustration and anxiety and depression is being poured out into the lesson to the child. So they're receiving things from, that's one of the reasons why for me, I didn't spank my children. I did not say I did not discipline. Let's be very clear. I did discipline. I just didn't readily spank. Okay. Do I believe spanking is bad? No. I believe beating is bad. I believe whooping is bad, but I do not believe in spanking, especially when it's warranted, right? But I didn't do it because I was dealing with so much frustration on my own that I couldn't gift that to my child, because they were going to get more than what their behavior was requesting from me. That point of that being that we have to be careful what we're teaching, because if we're teaching through pain and hurt, our students are receiving part of the lesson, but more of the pain and hurt. And I think that's where we need to get to that place. We actually have to, in order to save our kids, we got to save our teachers too. We have to get into a place where we're willing to work with the administrators and say, I see you're hurting. I see you're in pain. And wait, I see you want to leave. You're part of the 55%. What can I do to help you not do that? What do we need to change that's going to help you not want to leave those students behind or leave this profession? Because we need people like you. We love your heart and we're willing to work with you on that. So does anybody have, Barry, you're just sitting there quiet. He's like, this is hilarious. Just go ahead, Dr. Thomas.
So when you think about that, it's all about that climate, that culture, right? How are we setting up that school so that when those hard times come, teachers don't say, I'm over it, I'm out of here, right? And so one way is we talk always about trauma-informed care with the students, but we also must have that same kind of care with our teachers, right? One thing that we do is we do a personality test, True Colors. And so now once I learn your true colors, I know how to talk to you, right? I know some of the things that you need. But then also a big part of that is we always tell people, well, come into work, leave all your baggage at the door. And so now you done left everything that makes you at the door. How about we build a culture where teachers invite them whole selves, bring your whole selves to work. We build those relationships and we know, okay, this may be something that triggers this person. So let me step in and help. At school, we call it taking a phone call, right? And so then we built a relationship to where if I see something's going on between you and the student, hey, you got a phone call, you disengage, you step out, right? But it's those instances to say, we've learned how to be proactive with our teachers, right? We understand our teachers are human and we understand that things may happen. So you build that culture of empathy, understanding. And plus, you think about the simplistics of it. Nobody works for people they don't like, whether that's students or that's teachers, right? So then how do we go in and build those relationships, create that culture and environment where people want to come to work? So then when it's time to withdraw, we've already made our deposits.
I love that. We do not work with people we do not like. Now, if everybody else heard that, I also hear that includes children. If the child does not
gonna say
like
that right
your
there, yeah.
kids, if they do not like their teacher, they're just not going to participate or they're not going to do things. There were teachers that I did not like. And every time they asked me a question, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to drive a nail through my head. Shut up already, right? So we have to be better. It's us. Collectively, the adults in the room is causing this discord, and we've got to leave our egos at the door and come on in and have a conversation and teach those children the things that we need to be teaching them. This has been a very good conversation, I have to say. Come on now. This is going to work. We have tools. We have tools. So James, you're like, okay, so you see something, say something, but you're afraid to say something. Go ahead, scan this barcode, scan this QR code, and we can take care of everything from there. And now the school has a database that will actually be able to be provided to say, hey, we're steadily getting the same report about this same student. It's time for us to step in and do something because potentially we're looking at a problem that's going to hurt more than just a couple of people that they're hurting right now, right? So that's how I kind of see that working. So for those schools who are like, well, I have an open door policy. I'm here to tell you that is not licensed for anybody to come inside and say, let me have a conversation about something deep, dark, and personal. And because you have an open door, I'm just going to go ahead and spill my guts to you. And I don't like you. The likelihood of that working does not exist. So put up
one of the things too with that so I've interviewed so many high school kids. It's just insane because I really wanted to build a tool that the kids would use, right? So something that came up consistently was, I might not report for myself, but I will report for someone else.
Correct.
And it's the exact thing is we always say like kids and adults, they're not the same. Yeah, we are. Because guess who else does that? Adults, right? Yes. All the time. They won't say anything for themselves. They'll say something for somebody else because they'll protect somebody else. I was that way when I was younger. I would never fight for myself. I would fight for other people, right? That's how I've always been. And I know that's how all of us are actually. Why are you building the product you're building, Barry? Why do you have KTTV, right? Because you're helping somebody else. Tabitha, why are you building? Because you're helping somebody else. it's always about someone else and not really focusing on who you like, how you are doing. And I think that's something that's really challenging, which is why I love hearing that you have programs over there at KTV for like helping out the teachers to actually understand themselves, to take time out and like almost build a culture around the idea of let's take a step back for a second to be able to go forward better. I mean, that's honestly at the end of the day, that tool, the tool that we built, yes, it is, QRs, things like that, but it's also links inside laptops everybody has. It has like, hardware inside the schools kids can use in private. I mean, like it's a full-fledged system that also we're going to be taking from, and by the way, it's built. It's not just, this isn't I'm talking like it's a vision. It's built. We have the product. It's there. It's ready to go. And we have other things we're going to be snapping into it later, like, taking internet, like information off the internet and be able to provide it into that school. Like, look, here's some other stuff that's happening around your school. Some things that were mentioned across the internet in your area. Just be on the lookout for certain things. And here's some hints and blah, blah, blah. So people can actually be ready and aware to be a better parent, or better, I guess it was called a second or bonus parent, to be able to help out and support, right? Because now you're going to gauge the temperature of your school in a real actionable way. So I love this conversation too. I just wanted to say this was fantastic.
This was good. Parent one is home. Parent one is where most of the value systems are created, and it's the start of every child's beginning. Parent two is schools. They are adopted and brought into the equation at the age of 5 and kindergarten. So they will actually begin a co-parenting relationship with home. Parent number 3, which is normally considered a bonus parent. That bonus parent is a community being able to support you when you are not able to support yourselves. That is what we need. The best relationships we have sometimes come from our community. And I think that that's what we need to get back to. So I do appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to go ahead and give everybody an opportunity to actually let everybody know how to get in contact with you, and to, what is the one thing that you would like to share with people that they would like, you would like to share with people today so that they can get in contact with you. So I will start with Mr. Barry, because he's been sitting there so quietly. I need to bring you back, sir.
Yeah, this isn't my world, but I'm fascinated and I agree with everything you've said. And I actually made a few notes. So thank you guys for that. My son's a new parent and I'm making notes about this and that. So I appreciate that. To get in touch with me, obviously I'm on LinkedIn, but I put in the notes our website. That's the easiest, what we do. Like I said, we do a number of different tools for law enforcement and also businesses. The different tools are there, so you can just click on whatever and learn a little bit more about each of the different items that we offer. Again, I don't work directly with the schools.
You may after this.
Indirectly. I have some ideas going around in my head, so I appreciate that. But what you guys do is fascinating and outstanding. James, I want to learn a little bit more about your product, because it sounds like it's groundbreaking. And the what I've learned from you guys is invaluable. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being here. We'll talk again, and make sure to connect with everyone here.
Oh yeah.
All right, Dr. Thomas, go ahead, share with everybody.
Okay. Hold on, wait a minute. I know we're sharing the information, and then what was the next question?
So who do you want to meet? Who are you interested in talking to after this conversation?
Oh, yeah. For me, all of the above, right? All stakeholders of the educational system. Because the training, where we talk about teach, observe, work, evaluate, reflect, all of those pieces go, whether it's a company or whether it's an education trying to implement a new curriculum, that still works for both. And the biggest thing about it is being able to reach out to schools, to set up those mentor programs, to help them set up those mentor programs. We can do it where I'm not even in the building. And then we try to have a few events for that school to bring things in, like the Man Up. But then also, like I say, just being able to work with everyone to come in and mentor students. We always look for community stakeholders to come in and be a part of our Artist and Scholar program. So reach out, kttv.com, at KTTV on all social media platforms. We got to change the narrative. and it takes one person at a time.
That is true. And I have somebody to connect you with because you guys are doing something very similar, but I think that your impact can be much, much greater together. So thank you very much for spending the time with us today. All right, Mr. James, close us out.
All right. So, for me and getting in touch with the right people, because I gave an overview of the product, and again, it's just making it easy for kids and others to get in touch, and even the employees to get in touch with the right people at the right time, fast, within 10 seconds. And all the paperwork is being done by us automatically too. So that means there's less work that your staff and admin have to do. They just have to show up and support and help. That's it. I mean, literally we do all the paperwork on the report. Everything's done automatically. That's really the last bit that I didn't share out yet. So with me though, people I'm looking to get in touch with, school administrators. I mean, people who are decision makers that can say, yes, we want to work with you. That's really the big one. I think for anybody in my position, it's really just looking for the school administrators. I also do look for partners. I am very open to working with people. I am, if it makes sense, it makes sense. And I'm in to work with anybody. I just literally partnered up with an individual for the hospital side, and it's already bearing fruit for both of us. And I'm very generous when I work with people because I understand the value of partnership and community. So that's also important to put out there too. So if you want to help me sell something, or if you want to help me get in front of somebody, I also try to, pay back in some way, either literally with cash or with other types of introductions myself. So depending on how we structure our partnership, again, open to partnering 100%.
You're amazing. That's why you're coming with me.
Let's go, Tabitha.
Hey. All right, friends. Thank you very much. I am very, very honored that you guys chose to spend your hour with me. Thank you so much for bringing your message to us, to everyone here. And I do appreciate everyone out there that is teaching our students, doing something that some of us cannot do, but would be very interested in partnering with. Remember, as always, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest, like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.